We are back here on 6 Degrees of Associations, and we have Rodneikka Scott joining us today. Rodneikka and I have worked together at the same association, so we were just catching up before we actually hit record on this episode. We have a lot to cover because Rodneikka has a long and really insightful journey to share with us in her association career that we were actually just going through. And I almost wish I was recording a lot of that. But I'll start out with just having Rodneikka, you introduce yourself and just give us a little brief bio, and then I'll dive into it more for us.
Thanks, Casey. So again, my name is Rodneikka Scott. I have been in associations for, about 19 years at this point in time. So I'm starting to age myself there. When I think about my association journey in particular, it actually goes back before associations. I was a Division I college basketball player. I did a bit of work through my graduate program in public relations, where I had an opportunity to work with nonprofits, but not specifically associations in that space. Shortly after graduating, I took a stint as an educator. And from that, I launched into associations with teachers of English to speakers of other languages in that space. So I would say my primary focus in associations has been membership, and that's membership recruitment, engagement, retention, just the vast area that connects every area of association is truly membership. I have primarily worked in scientific and medical associations, so that's my jam. Absolutely love it and have fun doing it. I'm a mother. I have one son and love him dearly. And so many of you who may have attended ASAE's annual meeting, you might have had an opportunity to meet him there, as well as I'm a wife to my husband, Melvin. And again, excited to be here and looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, and Rodneikka currently serves as Vice President for Membership and State Engagement for the National Engineering Society. And I, too, share that membership background. We both worked at the American Urological Association together. And also, if you look at the association, people in the associations, it's almost like our own universe. I feel like we're like a Marvel universe at this point. Like there's so many people and you see them at ASAE, you see them, if you're not able to see them in person, pop up on LinkedIn, and we're just able to keep tabs on each other. And I think I speak for, a lot of people when I say Rodneikka is a key member of the association universe. And I'm honored to be able to host her on today's episode. We talked beforehand about kind of the competitive spirit that drives Rodneikka as a former Division I athlete. And, that has carried over, if I'm not mistaken, to your work in associations. And we were kind of talking about the perseverance aspect and never giving up. Tell me more about how you've been able to channel that competitive spirit that's within you, inside the halls of an association to be effective.
So thank you. Great question. When you're thinking about the competitive spirit, or at least the way that I see it showing up for me, sometimes it shows up in a very positive way. Recruitment and retention does require a bit of innovation. It requires being able to pivot. And it also requires, really taking a step back, looking at the game film of your opponent. And sometimes the opponent can actually be yourself, where you're getting in your own way of getting new members and serving the members' needs. And again, taking a step back, looking at the horizon as far as what's the next generation needing and wanting from the association space. When I look and relate it back to my time as an athlete, the way that I've seen that shown up is that you really realizing you're not in it alone. You don't have to solve all of the problems alone. You have a team behind you, and being open and willing enough to depend on that team, knowing their strengths along the way, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, as well as surrounding yourself with the team that can make you and your members most successful. So I look at it from that perspective as the positive and what just kind of drives me forward. So it's always evolving. Like this year, you may have one strength. Next year, you may have a setback and you might have to go back and rebuild along those pathways. And again, that constant evaluation is a part of the strength that I've learned from basketball and really from that perspective. The challenge with that, however, is that being competitive, many times you're in competition with yourself. You're trying to make sure that you're the best professional available, the best professional, the most knowledgeable person in your particular space. And with that, like many athletes, you don't always give yourself grace. You don't give yourself grace to not stand in perfection or just not to win at times. And it's okay not to win. And so over the course of my career, learning that you're not going to win every campaign. Every campaign's not going to be a success, but redefining how do you evaluate success. There have been a number of times where I've taken a step back and had to backtrack a bit to chart a new path. And it's really, again, it's like being on the court. If one play isn't working, you have to draw up something else. And most of the time, you've learned from your mistakes and you continue to move forward.
Yeah, I can really relate to that because as a huge boxing fan, I know that looking back on the careers of some of the greatest fighters of all time, I mean, you're talking about Muhammad Ali and people of that stature, they all have had losses, right? Like chasing a perfect record is not that doesn't mean you're the greatest of all time because the greatest of all time has to lose, has to learn from that loss, come back and let that loss make them 10 times, 10x stronger. So I definitely relate to that metaphor. Talk to me more about the team that you're leading and how, if they're not behind you, it doesn't matter if you're the most skilled person in the world. If you come to an association and you're not a team player or you don't know how to lead a team or to work with a team, you just won't get anything done. Tell me about how you've, evolved as a leader and a team player.
So I want to give credit to Florence Freeman, a person that you and I have both had the privilege of working with in the past. The first thing that she told me as a relatively new manager is that, again, if your team is not behind you, it does not matter what numbers you achieve, you will not be successful and you will not feel that success. And that really resonated with me. Since being in that space, the first thing that I do at any association, at any opportunity is really take time to get to know the team, not only the team that I will manage and the team that I will support that way, but also the teams around me and the teams that are around the teams that I work with. For example, at the National Society for Professional Engineers, I lead the ethics team, the advocacy team, the events team, learning team, membership, state engagement, and customer service teams. So there is a lot going on all the time. And what I always focus on is making sure that I'm accessible. You can reach me. You're not bothering me, making sure that the team knows that I'm here. I'm here for you. Also getting your hands dirty because sometimes, you know what, you have to get back in the weeds to help really lead the charge from within. And beyond that, making sure that you're looking for the person beyond the work. We spend quite a bit of time, and I know it's an old adage that we spend quite a bit of time at work or in the virtual space associated with work. But what do we know about the people we work with? What do we know about their lives? What do we know about their stress levels? Like one quick check-in that I have with my team every week, whether it's for the good or bad, is on a scale from 1 to 10. Like, how are you doing? What I learned from that is, how are you doing? For one person, their natural level can be at a 7 all the time. And so if they share that it's lower than that, okay, what happened to get you there and how can we keep you at a lower state? But again, if that level starts to either creep up or suddenly goes up, that's a warning sign for me that I need to intervene, that I need to engage, or at least just ask the question, how can I support you to bring that back to balance or homeostasis? So again, it helps me learn a little bit about them and how they operate. It's a natural check-in point to see how can we move, that needle, or even if it does need moving. Because some people actually state that they operate better at a 7. And I have some team members that really need to be at a 2 most of the time in order to show their greatest success. So really making sure that as a leader, you are supporting the team just as much as they are supporting the KPIs and efforts that you have for them.
As someone who's worked for many different leaders and managers, I can tell you for sure that it always feels different when the person you're working for is open to be communicative and always has a line of communication directly accessible to them, because especially in this era of work from home and that type of thing, you need to be able to talk to people, and there's just so many moving parts to so much of what we do. And the leaders that I have struggled the most working for are, like, in theory, too busy to talk to you. You send an email, you don't hear back for a while, or you hear back a very short and maybe confusing message. And so I'm a total would love working for a person like you. But how do you find? Because I mean, another part of me has empathy for these other people that lead that way, because maybe they just have too much on their plate. So how do you take advantage of like time management or prioritization of tasks? Like, how do you make sure that you always have the time for people that need to reach out to you directly?
So time, the only thing we can't get more of with the, I know, right? With time, a few things that I do as an executive, you do have to plan to have time. I have on an easy day, anywhere between 8 and 10 meetings a day, especially in this federation setting that I have to be a part of. And so I intentionally block out spaces of time on my calendar so that I can make myself available to the team in between those. Also taking time to block off time to just think and letting the team know, hey, you know what? I'm here, I'm around, but I am, really focusing on this effort or that effort. There's simple tools that you can just get in a habit of using, whether it's, having a Teams thread in which your team can just throw in questions throughout the day. Sometimes they answer their own questions. They don't really need me along the way, but it's just good to have that crowdsourcing of information in that space. Sometimes it's, again, it could be a quick Teams message. And I love to use Teams because I see it pop up even if I'm in a meeting. And if someone says, I really need you right now, I can cut 5 minutes out of a meeting one way or another to make sure that I'm there, make sure that I'm available. And also empowering our teams. Coming into a new role, being new at the National Society of Professional Engineers, what I've learned is that sometimes teams never had anyone to say, I trust you. You can make the right decision, or what do you think that next best decision is based off of all of your knowledge in this area? And I believe that's freeing, very freeing for individuals on the team. One other thing that I can mention, and it really touched me, it's very simple, very straightforward, but you see me in a blazer today. Our team throughout the pandemic dressed up, even virtually, every single day, business casual, business professional. And I came on board. I'm a lot more relaxed in that space if I don't have an important meeting. And someone said, I never showed myself on camera because I was always worried about not being in the, blazer and tie or that business professional look. And you showed up. You usually wear a t-shirt on the meetings, and I felt relaxed and I felt comfortable that I could just show up as me. So even though we're at work, it doesn't mean that you don't have times where you do have to, dress up and dress appropriate. But for our teams, let's be comfortable. Let's be comfortable. Let's bring yourself, and we talk about authenticity, bring your authentic self to work, whether it's virtual or not, and we can get some awesome work done. What the team has reported back to me is, again, I don't mind coming on camera now because I know it's okay to be myself. I don't mind shifting the camera where people can see more of me, or even speaking up. So there were many voices that weren't being heard before, and now just giving that confidence that we're all in this together. And whatever you have, whether you think is good, bad, or otherwise, is worth hearing the way that you are prepared to say it. So that would be one other tip. It is just being authentic and showing up as who you are, and allowing your team to feel comfortable showing up as they are as well.
Rodneikka, you have a master's degree as well as the CAE distinction. So talk to me about like that lifelong learning. And particularly, I'm curious about the CAE. Was it a great decision? Was it something that was worth all the time and energy that went into it? Tell me about, would you be where you're at today without it's one thing to get all this, real world knowledge by being in the workplace, but talk to me about some of this more academic and theory that's taught at that level of masters and CAE, and how you've been able to bring that back into, what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So I've shared before that I've been in the association industry for quite a while. What I did not share is that early on in my career, I was one of 10 individuals selected for ASAE's Emerging Leaders Program. I believe I was 3 or 4 years into association management. Being accepted into that program gave me exposure to the idea of a CAE. But again, I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if associations would be my thing, like my lifelong, career path and journey. Fast forward a few years, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years, and I came to the resolution that I did want to continue to grow in associations. I primarily focused on membership and communications, and I needed to understand how did the pieces fit together. In meetings, you hear different perspectives from different colleagues, but you don't really understand big picture, how they fit together. And I believe that is what the CAE did for me. The process of studying the different domains, the process of seeing areas where I may have only saw it from one dimension, like finance, for example. Understanding the difference between different types of organizations, what was allowed, what wasn't allowed, why are our bylaws important, how to manage like governance. There are ideas associated with it, and there are best practices, and truly being able to work through those. Also, what you don't realize when you begin the journey of the CAE is that you have a case study every single day that you go to work. I recently meaning last week, finished facilitating a CAE prep course. And that was one of the key things that I shared with the individuals attending, is that every day that you go to work, you can use something from each one of those domains to help you make decisions, and also help people reach consensus on those decisions that are made. It is not an easy exam by any means. It does test test your ability to get out of your own head and to really think about not the way that I do things, but the way that chief staff executive should be looking at doing things and conducting the bigger picture. Many times we talk about 30,000 foot. I would say you need to elevate to 50 or 80,000 feet, like view of your association space there. If it was up to me, I would say everyone does not necessarily have to take the CAE exam. I would encourage it, but everyone should at least take one of the prep courses to understand what's all connected in these spaces. With the exam, prior to taking the exam, I thought that I could only use the CAE in associations. the principles actually permeate across industries. And again, it's been a great value to me. It has also put me in a position where I can do more than just membership. As mentioned, I have a huge portfolio right now, and I would not have been able to take on those roles without the knowledge gained from this exam.
That was a pretty good case for the CAE right there. I would love what you said about kind of removing the bias of yourself, kind of getting out of your own head, as you put it, to make decisions. That is very valuable. I love that. Is there like, I know that a lot of people, we have a lot of mutual friends, and we, go to the ASAE events and those types of things. Is the CAE have a networking component to it that is also beneficial? And then also, just I'd like to get your thoughts at large on networking in the association space and what you think.
Phenomenal. So the CAE, as it relates to networking, the first thing that I need to say as a disclaimer, it's one, it is tough, and everyone has to go at their own path. Their own path, meaning whatever you need to study, you have to do what works best for you. I took the non-traditional route. They told me to not take the CAE exam when you have an annual meeting. They also stated to give yourself closer to a year to study. I went to an ASAE meeting in August. I took the kickoff meeting in September, and I tested in December. It was extremely intense from that space. But as it relates to networking specifically, if you see someone with the CAE credentials after their name, more often than not, that individual would be open and willing to share their journey with you. They would be open and willing to share resources with you. There are a number of programs that give, kickoffs or trainings, or even just ask me anything types of events and questions for those who might be interested in the CAE. So beyond that, as it relates to networking with the CAE, the individuals who you tend to study with, if you form a study group, these are people who you are going to carry throughout your career. Everyone in my study group, whether I see them doing webinars, whether I see them at a meeting, we connect. We went through a shared experience. We all have different levels of expertise in the different domains, and we reach out to each other as resources along the way. When you think about that additional level of networking, the most rewarding experience that I can remember was after earning the CAE, attending the annual meeting and getting that ribbon. And it's funny, we all laugh at ribbons in the association space, but the ribbon that says new CAE, not only do you get a sense of pride for what you are doing and what you've accomplished, but you really see the community. There's so many people that will come up and congratulate you in person and really recognize like the effort and the strength that it took and the perseverance it took to achieve that goal. And those people, you'll start seeing them more and more over the course of your career. Beyond that, it's not just about you getting the CAE, it's about you being able to give back to others. Many of those that I've had an opportunity to engage with on my own personal journey, they've served as mentors, they've served as coaches, and it creates this environment where you want to give back, where you want to, share the knowledge with others, and you're able to show up operating at a higher level for your own association.
Yeah, I love it. I'll keep my eye open for that ribbon at the next SAE meeting. Yes, there is so much that goes into the creation of a good ribbon, and then what to be on the lookout for a ribbon, and then of course the funny ones are the best too. So that's awesome. I didn't even think of that, to be on the lookout for that actual ribbon. Rodneikka, as we work towards wrapping up here, I'm going to give you kind of a two-part question here. Just I'll leave a little catch-all for any final thoughts you had on today's discussion, and then also would love to know what's kept you in associations, because there's no denying, your skill set will be valuable in many different settings and the for-profit sector, of course. So just tell me about what's kept you in the associations, and maybe there's something there that we can learn from. And everyone's looking to retain great employees. So I want to know what's kept you in associations.
Thank you. What's kept me in associations? Many of us don't even realize how we found associations to begin with. It's like, oh, wow, I ended up in this space by accident. What I would challenge us to do is to really think whether it was an accident or not. Most of us who are on pathways that are in alignment with associations, we love the mission. We love helping people. We love things that are bigger than ourselves and bigger than just one specific cause. I think that's really that connective tissue that keeps us involved in associations. For me specifically, when I can see not only my team, but also the members that we work with go from being a early or mid-career level individual to senior level, when I can see them going from being a new member to getting involved and giving back, and also building that confidence within each of them, that really excites me. That keeps me going. Over my career, I've had an opportunity to build a number of diversity-related programs to bring new individuals into professions that may not have looked or sounded like them. And that's where I get passion from. And that's why I love this space in particular. I would say a close second to that are like all of the professionals like you that I've had an opportunity to work with. Every meeting, every webinar, every opportunity that I have a chance to even read some of the material that my peers put out, it feels like home is the best way that I can explain it. I've been across a number of industries, and I always go back and say, no, association professionals, like they get me and I get them. And again, that's the true sense of professional home.
That nailed it. And I mean, as I couldn't agree more. Like that's what's kept me in the association universe, as I called it. I'm sure someone else has already said that, or I'm stealing that somehow. But
we'll call it the multiverse.
Multiverse, yes, I love it. Rodneikka, as we wrap up, in the spirit of 6 Degrees of Associations, if there is someone that you think we should benefit from talking to in a similar conversation that we had today, I would love to reach out to them and invite them on the show for a little chat as well. Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Yes, Stacy East comes to mind, and I would probably say Stacy East, Esquire CAE, comes to mind. And so she is a career changer that went from practicing law for over 20 years and moved into the association space, an absolute amazing and dynamic leader.
Oh, that's awesome. I look forward to reaching out to her. This will be another great discussion, I'm sure. Rodneikka Scott has been our guest today on 6 Degrees of Associations. It's been a really fun day for me, playing some reunion here and also getting a chance to pick at her brain. It's awesome. She is the Vice President for Membership and State Engagement for the National Society for Professional Engineers. And I really just appreciate her time today. Rodneikka, this was amazing. Thank you again.
Thank you, Casey.